Ready? Okay, it is 4:32 on Thursday, March 28th, 2024. And I call this meeting of the Meridian Historic Preservation Commission order. Roll call. Blaine Johnston is here. Pam Jagosh. Jack Keller.
Here.
Patrick Giddings.
Here.
Ken Freeze.
Here.
Deborah Pitts. Here. Heather Giacomo. We'll do our formal introductions later. We need to get started on this. We need to try and get out of here by 5:30 if we can. Adoption of the agenda.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the agenda.
I second.
Motion by Commissioner Giddings, second by Commissioner Keller for adoption of the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing no motion carries. Approval of minutes from our February 22nd meeting.
Mr. President,
Commissioner Keller.
I move to approve the minutes from the February 22nd meeting.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Keller, second by Commissioner Giddings for approval of our minutes from February 22nd, 2024. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Approval of monthly financial statements.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the financial statement.
I second.
Motion by Commissioner Freeze, second by Commissioner Keller for approval of our monthly financials. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll just go right into reports if we can, so we can get in and out of here if possible. Update, Meridian Speedway listed in the National List of Historic Places. Good job, everybody. It's been, I think, 4 years in the process since we first got started on this. So finally recognized, and great news for us. A lot of news in the press for us in the Speedway. So excited. Next step, I think, is I ask Cassandra to do some checking. What does it take to get the plaque for the Speedway? Do you have any idea?
I don't have any information or direction on that at this time. I can reach out to SHPO on some plaque things. We would need to get approval from the Speedway to place anything. And I know at one point we had talked about some additional signage or something, so we need to get costs and also work with the Speedway to put something up.
Okay. I also like the suggestion that I came up with is if you drive into Winnemucca, they've got street signs all along Highway 95 as you drive in. And I don't know if it's possible, like that, we'd have to probably get approval from Ada County Highway District, but I think that would be a nice addition to that also. Barb, thank you for all your work you did for that. It was very much appreciated.
I was happy to be part of the project, and I was really excited that we finally saw it listed in the National Register, and kudos to everybody who helped with that process. And I'm very proud that it happened. So yay.
Okay, maybe you can answer that question. Do you know what it takes to get the plaque? Do we have to does National Park Service send it out? Do we have to buy it from them, or do you know what happens?
Yes, there are actually, and I'll confer with Cassandra, but there is a company that actually does the plaque, and they're actually not too pricey, surprisingly. I think they're around $100 or so, 125 maybe. And it is a basic plaque. It's what you see on other properties that are listed in the National Register. It's just that, you know, it just has a designation and is just a bronze plaque. But I can provide that information to Cassandra.
Mr. President, one more question for you, Barbara. Do you have any recommendations on where on the site to place the plaque? Do you have any best ideas, since you know the site pretty well?
Well, of course, I would love to see it on the bleachers dairy barn. And I think there is an area. The other place I would suggest, because we want as many people to see it as possible, The other places where they sell the, believe it or not, where they sell the beer, because lots of people would see that as well. But I think the most exposure is going to be either on the bleachers where people are going up and down the stairs on the dairy barn, or at that at the beer location.
Thanks, Barb. Yeah, we'll reach out to the Speedway and the Dairy Board and we'll get confirmation as to where that can be located. I don't have anything else on the Speedway. Does anybody else have any comments on it?
Mr. President, I'd just like to say, while I love bronze plaques, I think they're very classy. They also tend to be prone to theft in the same way that copper tubing is. So I would like to see this someplace where it is in a secure place. It sounds like that would be at least semi-secure. But again, that's just one of my concerns, is that it's not in some place that somebody can come and pry off late at night.
Yeah, I think as long as it's on the dairy barn, the bleachers, that's behind all the fencing. So it should be fairly secure.
Mr. President, we can work with the dairy barn, the dairy board to find a location, because the plaque, I presume, belongs to the city.
I think it belongs to probably the Dairy Board.
So then they get to choose where to put it. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's their property. But so I guess then if that's the case, if the city doesn't own it, then it really would just be a conversation with them of where they want to put it. If the city owns the plaque, then that would be different. So if it's theirs, then that's fine.
I guess that's a clarification, Barbara. Do you know if the city owns it or if that's the Speedways?
Well, I guess in my head, I believe it would be the dairy board, right? Since they ultimately own the property and lease it to Meridian Speedway. So I think that it seems like that's a pretty layered question, and I don't actually have the answer for that.
Okay. At least that answers our questions for now.
We can figure it out.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Neri. Let's go on to item 4, presentation, Meridian History Center updates. So.
First off, I just want to say thank you for the Meridian Historic Preservation Commission for allowing me to be here to speak today and providing me an opportunity to update the commission on the work of the Meridian Library District's History Center, both in general and specifically in what we are doing with Meridian Speedway history. The Meridian Library District History Center is committed to helping preserve the history of Meridian, Idaho. In 2021, we took over care of the Meridian History Collection given to us by the former Meridian Historical Society. Since then, we have been open to the donation of historical materials in either physical or digital form, as long as items pertain specifically to the history of Meridian, Idaho. One of the major projects we do at the History Center are digital collection websites. The process includes the digitization of photos, documents, and other materials that we turn into computer files, and then followed that by the simultaneous collection of metadata, which is just a fancy term for information that pertains to those pictures or documents. And then we provide with that information detailed access to those materials on our library website. With this metadata and that scanned material, that's what becomes our digital collection website. These websites serve a twofold purpose: the preservation of materials of historical significance from being constantly held by the public or having any kind of deterioration or ripping or other things that can happen to them. And then the second reason for these websites is it provides a way for the public to more easily access that Meridian history. The History Center has developed several digital collection websites from the materials inherited from the Meridian Historical Society. We have completed, and there's a list that I have here on this PowerPoint. We have completed digital collection websites of photos from 1950s dairy days. We have a digital collection for the Girl Graduate Album, which is a scrapbook by Ardith Caldwell, providing insight into the life of a Meridian High School teen in the early 1920s. The Willett Family Photo Album, which is about a family that drove across the country in 1921 in what can best be described as an auto bungalow or a very primitive form of an RV to visit their daughter that was here in Meridian teaching at Meridian High School. We have the Maze Gray collection that is on our website, which is a series of photos from 2 early Meridian families. And the Oxnett Club, which is a civic women's organization that lasted from 1924 to 1996. We have also reached out to many community groups and partnerships to preserve historical materials they're in possession of. These collections include the Meridian Police Department, the Friends of Pine Street School, the Meridian Fire Department, and the Idaho Historical Racing Society, which I will speak more about that later. Many more collections are going to follow over the next while. One such is one of Meridian High School yearbooks from 1921 up to the last 5 years. We have talked with Meridian High School, and we have confirmed that they have the copyright for those books, and they're allowing us to digitally scan them with everything except for the last 5 years, because they still sell those copies of the previous 5 years. So that's the difference there. So a lot of work is going on there. Now, really quick on your screens, if we go ahead, and I'll have us turn really quick to the digital collection website so you can kind of get a view of it. And Cassandra is going to help do the tech on that end of getting it pulled up. So it might just take a second here. But yeah, as you can see on the screen right here, we have the Meridian History Center website that is at the normal Meridian Library District website under Meridian History Center. And if you scroll down the page, you can click on Browse Digital Collections. And that's going to be what takes you to these Meridian History Digital Collection pages. And if you scroll down, you can see that many of the collections that are all of them that I have just mentioned are here on this one. And so if we go up, let's just use the Pine Street School as a good example. So you can click on the Pine Street School, and you can see there's a featured image here. And then if you scroll down towards the bottom, you'll see a list of sample items. And you can always it'll show a few of the sample photos or items that are on the page. And then we don't necessarily have to click on this specifically, but if you were to click on the view item, it would bring up the item and any metadata on it. So yeah, if you see here, here's the picture, and then we just have the metadata. One thing that's really good with the descriptions on this particular page you could see on your screens is for some of these photos, we had the list of all the students' names. Some maybe there were some missing, but if we go back up to the top of the page as well, and some of the websites will have more than this, but if we hit the About page, if we go over to the About right there, and scroll down, the About page tends to have, what we do is we write up a little history and kind of provide a little bit of context to the website for as people go through it. Some are longer than others. I will admit that the Meridian Police Department, we wrote a pretty nice, lengthy history for them. One of the upcoming projects that is on the 50th anniversary of the Meridian Library District, we have a nice a written history of that, and that one will be up probably in the next month or so. But you could see, and thank you, Cassandra, for kind of doing a glance through these. different things. But then, and then there's two functions on these websites that patrons who access it would have the ability to do. At the very top of the page, they can click on browse, and browse would just allow them to browse any of the photos or documents in the collection. If we go back to home, you can kind of see the browse function there. And then, oh, sorry, go back to just a specific collection page, not the broad page there. So if you go to a specific collection, if you scroll up, I think it should be at the top of this police page. Let's see here. And go to timeline right there. Yeah, on top of this particular collection. You can see on all the collections, we even have the timeline function allows people to actually look at the specific photos and information by the date or era of those photos that we have in the collection. So it's just a nice little piece it's a nice piece of history you can get and looking at the different collections. And so with community partnerships that we have done. And so we can go ahead and Cassandra, as soon as you're able, we can go back to the PowerPoint there. And again, if you have any more questions at the end of the PowerPoint, I'm more than happy to answer them. So going to the next slide here. So we do the History Center does these digital collection websites, one of our major projects. One thing that we also do is every second Wednesday at the of the month, every second Wednesday of a month. So not every 2 weeks, but every second Wednesday of a month, we have what we call digitized family history. And we have hour appointments where people can bring 10 to 15 photos. And and they can sign up on the library's website. And what we do is we will help them while they're there scan those photos or family documents, and then we will put them on a complimentary thumb drive. I think I actually brought a copy of it here. And we kind of, as you can see, we kind of decorate nice with a little 3D print camera from Unbound that they can have at the end of their USB drive. And then we send that home with them. And we have several people that like to come back, and they just bring their same thumb drive, and we help them through that process. And then, of course, one of the things we do too is we kind of help look after the Meridian History Center exhibit. That's right here in City Hall, right to the left as you enter in to those doors. And again, those they're self-guided tours, and it's available Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And so those are the things that we do there. But of course, one of the things that I'm here to talk about today is the Meridian Speedway and the History Center. During my work with digital collection building and our History Center exhibit, I have become aware of just how historically intertwined the Meridian Speedway is with our community. I have seen evidence of the Meridian Speedway helping fund the public library. I have seen the Speedway's impact in the 1950s, causing the creation of a volunteer auxiliary police force, because we needed an auxiliary police force to help manage traffic with 500 to 1,000 cars coming to be participants and watching the races at the Speedway. I have seen sufficient evidence in the history archives of evidence of Boy Scout charity jalopy races, raising money for the disabled in our community. And you can see on the picture here on the PowerPoint that you're looking at, that is Explorer Post 101. That's Meridian Explorer Post 101 in 1968. That is a car they made for a demolition derby. I don't have any evidence after the demolition derby, but I'm wondering how the tail figured out once everything was done that they put up on that car. And I mean, as you all know, I mean, we just talked about it. You as a commission helped to get the Meridian Speedway on the historic register. And so you know all these things, of course, as well. But one of the things too, that I'll just mention as well is, of course, we know the connection to the dairy community. And of course, I think a very big thing of shining a light and why it's important for our History Center to shine a light on the Speedway is because, of course, the Speedway has for several generations, for several decades, has brought together families. And families have been brought close together by this Speedway, not only as spectators, but as participants. Examples include Ken and Davy Hamilton, Glenn Pappy Naylor and his sons Bob and Tom, and Maury Fuller and his sons. And I don't need to just focus too much on fathers and sons either, because daughters are exemplified in the fact that there's been several female racers at the Speedway, such as Sierra Jackson, and of course her father, Mike Jackson. And so you see that with the Speedway history, there's a lot of familial generational history that, as I'm sure you all know, and it definitely has stuck out as I've interacted with history in the Meridian History Center. So, and of course, as you all know of this, I just bring this up to say this is why the MLD History Center is so focused on Speedway history. And it hasn't just been because of the register. When I started the History Center, I actually have to admit, I was surprised about how little we had on the Speedway. I thought we would have more on the Speedway. We had a lot of great stuff. I mean, we have some Speedway jackets. They're in our exhibit room right now, but we had little. And this is why this partnership that the Meridian Library District has made with the Idaho Historical Racing Society has been so crucial. The Idaho Historical Racing Society, or I'll say IHRS from here on out, started about 2 decades ago when Stan Fuller and Steve Towery put together their efforts to preserve Idaho's racing history. It began from their own passion and has grown into a nonprofit organization with a Facebook following of several thousand followers. And on the PowerPoint here, I did kind of a little screenshot on my phone of the Facebook page. So if you're a social media person and you haven't already liked the Idaho Historical Racing Society, to follow their posts on racing history, which often does bring up Speedway, Meridian Speedway, please do so. The IHRS efforts in collecting this history, large collections of photos, scrapbooks, trophies, racing car parts, helmets, you name it. They've been collecting this. It has been proved a valuable connection and partnership with them, because we've been able to unite to kind of help preserve some of that for our Meridian History Center. The History Center has been in the process of digitizing Meridian Speedway photos and documents already. We have several hundred photos and many documents and programs scanned. This is just a few of the scanned photos that you're seeing on your screen right now. And we are going to continue to work to scan more and create the digital collection website that will at least get live, and then we can continue to add more so it's still accessible as we're adding more to this collection. Now, we're not going to necessarily be uploading all the collection that IHRS has as far as their materials, because they'll go and do things with what we don't upload as well, and the things we do upload as they wish to exhibit that history as well. But this partnership is going to help us have a foothold for the Meridian Speedway at our History Center. Apart from this digital collection, there has been a very preliminary discussion on the possibility of a Meridian Speedway display at the History Center right here in City Hall in partnership with IHRS. Again, it's been a very preliminary discussion. The History Center is willing to hold an exhibit for a month or several months, depending on any specifics or an agreement that gets made. But again, we've just barely began speaking with the Idaho Historical Racing Society about this. And then, but if the IHRS and MLD get together on the exhibit, the room can be altered to handle such an exhibit. We have self-guided text panels already of Meridian history that we can leave on the walls, which would allow us to then put the Speedway items into all the display cases and make panels specifically for the Speedway. So we can still have that element of general, broad Meridian history, as well as us when we do it, because it is a small room that we have to work with, as you know. But again, I think it's very plausible for us to do that. And we are in just kind of early talking points for that. But to this point, our major focus has been a digital collection website in cooperation with MLD and the IHRS. With that is all the comments I have. But if you have any questions that you have on the Meridian digital history collections, the Meridian Center, or any regarding the Meridian Speedway, I'm less versed in the history of that than maybe some of you, or especially Stan Fuller, who is right behind me here in the meeting today, that is from the Idaho Historical Racing Society. So, and he did say that he would be willing to answer Speedway questions if you have any of those.
Brian, I have one comment and one question. Question regards the photos you're digitizing now. If they're historic that people bring in, do you publish those with their permission or not?
So that is a great question. So far, we've kind of had a lot of people that have moved to Meridian that have come in on our digitized family history events. But whether it's for those or if we meet with entities or organizations in the community, for the digitized family history where we have library patrons that come in, again, they have to pertain to Meridian, Idaho. We've done a lot of scanning of things that don't. But if they do pertain to Meridian, Idaho, we do have forms that they can fill out to give us a little bit of information on each of the photos we do, and then sign. And just as we give them a file of it, they can sign and give us permission to keep a copy of the file in our history center archives. And so for those, we're very careful to make sure that they're giving us permission to do that. For all of the whether it's the Meridian Police Department or we currently are working on a site for the Meridian Fire Department or the Idaho Historical Racing Society, we have they willingly allow us to use those. I will say though, as a library, we do have a lot more leeway with copyright, but on these pages, when you look at the bottom of the page, we've put a specific copyright notice. And that varies. Like for the collection we're doing with the Idaho Historical Racing Society, they would be, since they have the materials, they would be the ones that would have control if people wanted to use them for any kind of other purposes. And so we note that on the website to be cognizant and recognize copyright issues. But everything that we put on that website is specifically stated for educational purposes only. And that as with most libraries or all libraries around the country, as people use library resources, they are responsible for copyright violation.
Well, I appreciate all the photos you guys have done so far. I think it's been a real great collection for the city and for the history. So thank you. Does anybody else have any comments? Questions?
Mr. President,
Commissioner Giddings.
I had one question. I know that in the basement here at City Hall, there's historical newspapers from Meridian going back years and years and years and probably decades. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is. I would love to be able to see us get those digitized as well.
Oh, you anticipated my question.
Because it's something that I would like to do. I admit, I am a bit of a Meridian transplant myself. I was born and raised in Boise, so I'm not too far away, but my wife and I live in Meridian now. I'm not quite as versed in, because we have the Meridian Times and then it goes to the Valley Times. And I know we have a bunch in our office. We haven't put them in boxes, but we have a bunch of copies of Meridian Press. But I don't quite know. It's something that I haven't taken the time to kind of look into because we would have to be cognizant of copyright issues. I don't know if the old Meridian Times, if any of their publications had been bought or owned by Valley Times that came later, or the differences in the papers. I'd have to look into those. I also would love, if the case is we can digitize those newspapers. We have a camera scanner that'll allow us to digitize the Valley News with a digital camera that looks down. I mean, it's a little bit more time consuming. I would love it if we had the funds, but again, funds is everything, to get a newspaper scanner because those are really long and you can really scan those fast. But I would love to see these papers if copyright ability wise, if we can get the permissions, if there's any copyright lingering in those old papers, to have a digital collection of old Meridian newspapers. And we actually do have, you're right, in the archives, we have papers that go from about, I think about 1910, 1911 up through the present. I admit I do not know how rigorous we have been previous to me coming here on keeping the Meridian Press articles and the other more modern or contemporary editions of the newspaper. But yeah, we have those, and I'd love for them to be a digital collection.
Great, thank you.
Mr. President, would you entertain having the day May 9th, is that the day we've kind of selected for our day for tours and for the Preservation Month? I was just thinking if you could digitize, have that as part of our day, having the ability to digitize. People could come in and digitize it, kind of just highlight that. That's one of the services you offer.
Yeah, we can. That's May 9th.
Is that May 9th? Was that the day we picked?
Mr. President and Commissioners, it's May 18th, which
May
is
18th.
a Saturday, which I think might be difficult.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that might be a little, I mean, because our offices are here in City Hall, so for the, I could arrange something with Unbound maybe, if people, because it's just a block, I mean, they have a scanner there.
I've used their scanner.
Yeah, so, I mean, we could, I mean, that's something to look into. I definitely can talk to my manager and see if we could try to see if we could use Unbound.
I think that would be, to highlight what some things you do and what we all do, and, just to highlight different things that the community could get involved with.
That's a possibility, so we'll discuss that later on, so yeah. Any other questions? I think we're good. Thank you
Okay.
so much for your presentation.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, for having me, and thank you for all the commissioners for allowing me to come as well. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we will go on to our update for the walking tour guides. Barbara, you're up.
I am in the midst right now of doing the text for the walking tours, and my intent is to have it ready. I believe that we had discussed having the tours done and ready so that I thought it was at the April 25th meeting. I have a note from last year that possibly it could be a working meeting where I would hand out the tour guides and we would do a walk just so that we could do sort of an overview. I don't know if that will fit with everything else you all are doing, but they will be ready. You will have them in hand no later than April 26th, because I know you've got a lot of activities for Preservation Month.
Let me look. I don't know if we do it on a regular night for HPC. We might either have to meet beforehand or do it afterwards if people can stick around for something like that. But that's a possibility to do a draft run of the tour, if that would work.
Yes. And I really did want you all to have the opportunity to take a look at it and sort of try it out. And if there were any concerns or questions, then I would have the opportunity to clean it up and make it, do whatever I have to do so that it's more usable for you if what I do in the first place isn't what you need. But I'm working on it right now. I'm working through the drafts, I'm working through the locations, and ideally I would like you all to have a chance to give me some input on it before you guys are ready to fly with it in May. I'm not sure exactly, are you all going to be using leading the tours then on May 18th? And I wasn't sure how, what the next step would be with them. They'll be ready to go, so whenever you all do special tours and programs, it'll be ready made and you'll be able to use that as a springboard for tours. So I didn't know if you were going to try and use it on your upcoming Preservation Day.
That's the plan, is to use it for Preservation Day. And if the commission is comfortable with leading tours that day, if they have the notebook with it, I'm happy with that too. I'm speaking for the commission, but I haven't asked them anything. Any
Well,
questions?
I was just going to say, I'm working on the draft now. And so maybe what I need to do is prior to the 25th, just have the rough draft and provide it to Cassandra. And then perhaps have you all take a look at just the rough draft and the Word draft and then go from there.
I guess we have two choices. You can either email the draft to Cassandra and myself, or the other possibility is maybe have a quick little subcommittee meeting before the 25th that we can review it to make sure. I don't know how much time you would need to do any revisions. I guess it depends on how much we need to think there is.
Well, I just want you all to have an opportunity to look at it before it's in hand on May 18th. So right now I'm looking at my calendar and I have the date of April 18th circled as when the draft will be done. So at that time, I guess what I'll do is just provide it to Cassandra and as an email, and then however you all want to do it, to take a look at it via email. But there will be a draft for you all to review. And I kind of would like to, if there's a possibility and that you may need to discuss this further, but if we could maybe pick an evening, a day, or an afternoon so that we could do a dry run. I've been over there a couple times and been walking it, but I would like you, to have the opportunity to take you all along and just go along with you and show you. I mean, it's something that you'll be able to kind of tailor make. All the information will be there. And then as you all lead the tours, you can sort of pick and choose your where you want to stop, the information you want to share. It will all be in the walking tour guide. But regardless, April 18th is when the draft will be completed and ready for you all to look at.
I guess what I would like to see, maybe if possible, is even if it's not the whole commission, if there's just a couple of us available on the afternoon of the 18th, have a subcommittee meeting that we could meet and walk over the draft, and then you could do the presentation to us on the 25th, if that would work.
That makes sense to me.
With that, do I have a volunteer or two or three that would like to do a dry run on the content for the walking tour guides?
Mr. President, I'm available.
Okay.
Mr.
Yeah, just-
President, I'm available too.
Okay.
I'm available if you want me to be there.
Mr. President, I'm available.
Okay, so I have Commissioners Keller, Giacomo, Pitts, and Giddings. So we have 4 volunteers. Thank you. Do we just need a time? What's it, what?
And Mr. President and Commissioners, if we have 4 commissioners, that actually does make a quorum of a commission meeting. So I would suggest noticing it as a full commission meeting, not a subcommittee.
We can notice it as a full commission meeting too. I don't have a problem with that. So we'll just notice it. We just need to figure out the time that everybody's available on the 18th.
Sorry, Mr. President and Commissioners, if I might make a recommendation. If I receive it by the 18th, I can notice it in the HPC meeting, and then everyone would have time to go over it. And you're already going to be here on the 25th, so you could do it, either do an earlier HPC meeting or do the walking tour after the regular HPC meeting. And that way you would have the full week to look at it.
That would work too.
So we would look at it for,
The week.
yeah, for the week between the 18th and then the next regular meeting that we have is on the 25th,
Yeah,
is on the 25th. And we could,
just plan on doing it afterwards.
that sounds good.
Okay, we'll just do that then.
Mr. President, did you come up with the time?
We will do it after our regular meeting on the 25th.
Okay.
Mr. President, unfortunately, I would not be available to do that.
Okay,
However, I would like to get it, I think it may be emailed to all the commissioners.
yes.
Yeah, okay, because I definitely want to look at it. But unfortunately, I have another meeting.
Okay, no, that's fine. We'll make sure it gets emailed to everybody so everybody look at it. And then we'll do a dry run of the tour after our regular meeting. Does that
Thank
work for
you.
you, Barbara?
Yes, that does. I have that date down on my calendar and I have 5:30. So I will be there and we'll be ready to roll.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments for walking tour guides? With that, we will go on to updates. Our Eggers Farmstead. We had quite the discussion Tuesday on that Farmstone crossing plan before city council. In short terms, it's been tabled until May for a chance for city council, staff, me to come up with some alternatives. The developer really doesn't want to do anything other than a monument. But with that, I've got one gentleman that was here Tuesday night at the meeting that is interested in those silos for future development. Still need to meet with him and do anything, so I really can't get any more details than that. Mr. Neri, do you have any comments after Tuesday's meeting?
It was late. So, Mr. President, I think you've captured it. I think what the council did is put it off to see really just a better idea of going forward. I mean, the developer made the same pitch that he made here, which was they're willing to take it down. They're willing to put it on a trailer or trailers to move it, but their belief is, again, where to move it, who's going to reassemble it is really on the city's part if the city wants that to happen. They looked at a couple of places. They talked about one of the city parks. They talked about a different location on the site. They talked about the site that was near or the pathway rather than in the center, which would make some sense if there's some alternatives. It really was just a pause from the council just to see if something else can generate where this could go before they make a final decision on approving. I don't think they had an issue with the development. It really was, where does this go? Where could it fit? Where would it make sense? And so it really was just a time to see if we could work something out in the next couple of months or next month. So.
Yep, that's it. So we'll know more in our main meeting. So that's when we'll meet again on that project. Historic preservation plan. Cassandra, can you give us a little update on?
Mr. President and Commissioners, I do have some great news, which is that the grant, the CLG grant from SHPO that we applied for, we have been awarded partial funding, $12,000 of the $15,000 that we requested to complete a historic preservation plan. So with that, we had planned to do a cash match of 2,000, but that means that it would need to be a cash match from HPC of 5,000. Hopefully I did that math right because I was doing it at the top of my head. So that would be coming out of next year's funds, not this year's funds, which budget hasn't been approved, but the commission could discuss that now and make a recommendation for if that would be acceptable for the commission to do the cash match in that way.
So at that point, are we ready to release the RFP and go? And do we know exact cost it's going to cost for the plan?
Cost is $17,000, which is what we had submitted
Okay.
for. And we can either release the RFP, or since there is only one consultant that is local, finance has said that actually it would be preferable to go ahead and award to go do a professional services contract with that consultant. But if the subcommittee would like to release the RFP to do bids from multiple consultants for the 17,000, then we could do that.
I'll defer this to Commissioner Giddings.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Well, allowing a sole source contract sounds like the easiest way to go
Mhm.
by far. And we know that the consultant, the local consultant, is a firm that has done these before. So I think that's a good idea. I did, however, in one of my previous lives, get involved in one of these situations where we had reached out to different firms with RFIs, which are requests for information. And then in the end, when we didn't do an RFP, we wound up getting sued by the companies who never had a chance to bid on the work. In this case, I think we only have 2 firms that we believe could be potential awardees if we go out with an RFP. So I'm not sure I'm going to land on one side or the other. I believe that it's probably much easier for the city, and especially if the city would prefer to do a professional services agreement, then I guess to me, that would be what I would recommend. And I guess, Mr. Neri, if you have any concerns about what I just said about.
I guess, Mr. President, if we know there are 2 identifiable entities that could perform this service, we would generally put out an RFP instead, rather than just contract with one of them. Because I can't justify that we could create a sole source for this if we know there's 2 that exist. I guess I'm a little confused. If we know there's 2, why don't we just put an RFP? I don't see why that's a problem. It shouldn't take that long.
Mr. Neri, I think it did have to do with the locality because there were no other in-state.
So one in-state, one was out of state?
Mhm.
Right, but I don't think that purchasing rules don't separate it that way. Right, so they could do it.
I can double check back in with finance.
Yeah, I mean, if whatever purchasing will allow us to do is fine, but if, I don't recall that being in-state or out-of-state is a disqualifier, so certainly if they can do it within the price, but whatever purchasing will allow is fine. That's all I would concern myself with.
Yeah, I think from the letter that we got, we don't have to make a decision right now. I don't think that they're going to allow us to enter into any kind of contractual agreement until after they've sent us, until after SHPO has sent us a contract. And then not only that, but after SHPO has gotten verification from the National Park Service that the funds are going to be released. And I believe that's not going to happen until fall of this year, until fall of 2024. So I don't think that we need to make a decision right away on that.
Then let's do this. Cassandra, why don't you reach out to your person just to verify that we can sole source it? If that's what they want to do, that's fine with us. And just verify that to dot our i's and cross our t's. And then we'll bring this up next month. Okay? We will go on to our landmarking program, historic research.
Mr. President and Commissioners, the agreement with Sherry and JUB Engineers has been executed for the landmarking historic research and accompanied by the scope of work that she presented to the commission at the last meeting. And the work is anticipated to begin in May and with a kickoff meeting with our president, vice president, and myself and Sherry. And that's anticipated to happen on Friday, May 3rd.
Perfect, thank you. We will go on to new business, Ada County Treasurer Award nomination. Barb, you're up.
Oh, so I had suggested, I actually was in contact with the Ada County Historic Preservation Commission. It's Brent Danielson over there. And I had asked him earlier in the year when they would be accepting nominations for the Ada County Treasurer Award. And he said they accept them anytime. And of course, the first thing that comes to my mind is it would be great to nominate the Meridian Speedway for this year's Ada County Treasurer Award. But I thought perhaps the Historic Preservation Commissioners may have some other properties that they may want to put forward. I'm happy to do the nomination just as an Ada County citizen, but if you all are interested in backing the Speedway, a letter from the Preservation Commission would be great to go along with the nomination. It's a very straightforward nomination. You just provide photographs, why it should be an Ada County treasurer, and then some other information, and that's it. It's not a very formal application at all, but I would certainly love to be able to put that package together for the commission if you all are interested, or I just thought it would be so wonderful to have the Speedway as the treasure this year.
I agree with you. I think the commission agrees with you. And yeah, we can draft a letter and either get it to you or get it to Ada County Historic Preservation in support of that nomination.
Thank you.
Mr. President, do they or have more than one award, or is it just one?
I think it's just one, isn't it, Barb?
They do one for a person called I think it's called the Making History Award. And they actually have awarded that to a couple of individuals over the years. Last year, I believe it went to John Bertram. And then the Ada County Treasurer Award went to a farmstead off of, I'm trying to remember where it was, Floating Feather Road. So they do one for a person and they do one for a building.
Okay.
Or structure, or yeah.
If the commission agrees, I guess let's take a vote on it to begin with. Does the commission agree with having the Speedway submitted for the Ada County Treasurer Award and have Barb do that paperwork for us, and we will supply a letter to her for that nomination?
Aye.
Let's have a motion and a vote.
I move that the Historic Preservation Commission and Meridian draft a letter in support of having Meridian Speedway receive the Ada County Treasurer Award nomination, or the Ada County Treasurer Award.
Okay.
I second.
Motion by Commissioner Giddings, second by Commissioners Pitts and Keller for nomination of the Ada County Treasurer Award to the Speedway, and HPC's writing a supporting letter for Barb for that nomination. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll get that to you, Barb. Thank you. real quick before we run out of time here, discussion and planning for Preservation Month, May of 2024. So we've got on our calendar, Unplugged and Outdoors on the 18th, I believe.
Unplug and Be Outside is a week-long, and it is May 12th through 18th.
Okay. So if we plan on the 18th, that's Saturday, if that works, or we can do it any day of the week. It doesn't matter to us, as long as it's that week, since it's Unplugged outside or outdoors with Park Service, and we can not duplicate services. We got a bunch of people down here for their activities also. We can gain some extra support through the Park Service. So if we want to do the 18th, we can do the 18th, or we can do another day that week. I guess we're trying to get things nailed down because we only have a month and a half left before we have to start doing things.
And Mr. President, I'm a couple steps behind here. What are we?
Preservation Month activities.
Okay.
So we'll usually do an activity or walking tours, stuff like that on that day. So we invite the public to join us for walking tours. So this would be a good, our first opportunity to use those guides that Barb's making for us.
If it's on the 18th, then we'd also have Meridian Market going on that day. There
Mhm.
would be more people
Mm-hmm.
in the area.
Yep.
So I definitely think that would be a good idea.
Cassandra, what time does that start? Do you know, on that Saturday?
Mr. President, I'm not sure about what time the market starts. Probably 9-ish. Just a guess.
I know it's going to be busy, but we can plan 10 to 1, 10 to 2, and hopefully do a couple of tours or schedule one. And if we have a lot of public, we can just improvise and do a second one on the 18th.
Mr. President, the market opens at 9. If we did one in the morning, schedule one for the morning and the afternoon at least, and if we had more people, then we could add, I guess. Since all of us will be great tour guides at that point.
True.
That's right.
Well, Mr. President, I'm planning on being there and I'll be available for as needed. So if we do the first one, say at 10, and there's enough people, and we need to do another one right after that. I mean, I think we'd have the people to do it.
That'll work. So yeah, we'll just plan on the 18th then, for as many tours as it takes, to get it through, and then we'll just play it by ear. If it's just one, we'll do one. If it's two, we'll do two. People are still interested in the afternoon, we can do a third one.
Mr.
Yeah.
President, how are we going to promote the tours? By Facebook page or?
We'll do Facebook, Instagram, city notification on their emails.
And it can be listed in the Unplug and Be Outside activities, which is helpful because there's a whole host of classes. So that's somewhere where people are looking for information.
So we will do that. The only other thing I need that week, or we would need that week, is we have a bunch of sandwich boards that we put out in front of historic buildings. So if people want to do just self-guided tours, we put those out in front of the vault, the Heritage Building, City Hall, Zamzows. And we'll pick a day next month at our meeting to put those signs up and take them down. But they're usually out for about a week before, or half a week before and a week after. So we just need help to put those up and take them down. But we'll discuss that next month. That works. So we will plan on May 18th, starting 10 o'clock, start doing tours, and we'll go from there. if that works. Do we have any other questions? Cassandra, I'm doing my best to get you out of here by 5:30. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. President, I move to adjourn this meeting.
Second
Second
that.
it.
Motion by Commissioner Keller, seconded by Commissioner Giddings for adjournment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, we're done. Thank you, everybody. Heather, I'm sorry, we did good introduction. We can do informal now.
Next time. Oh, okay. Yeah, if you don't mind, I don't
Yeah,
know,
go
just
ahead.
really quick. My name's Heather Giacomo. I'm a licensed electrical engineer with CSHQA down in Boise, or over in Boise, downtown by the courthouse. I design power and lighting for new buildings and remodels, things like that. Been in Boise or Meridian for almost 8 years. Moved here from Montana with my husband. We're celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary in May. We have 2 boys who go to Boise State. One is 21 and one's 19. And I was just looking forward to give back to my community. We've settled here and put down some roots, and we're really loving Meridian. It's a great time in my life. I have some extra time to do this, and I have a history degree from my first time through college when I was just a new person, didn't know what I wanted to do. So looking forward to spending time with y'all.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.